Okay, there was an issue in my live stream, so the audio should be better now. But yes, I'm a beginner, just like you. So I'm trying to learn, and I'm also trying to share what I'm learning as well. Good. So we've got a question from Fahim. What is the best algorithm for extracting feature from handwriting images? As I said, I'm not an AI expert, so there is when we talk about solutions, there are no best solutions most of the times. There's always some trade-off, so to say. Assalamu alaikum. Aye. Baba the. So I'm going to move this guy out, and then I'm going to come back. Assalamu alaikum. बोलो. मुझे मुझे नजर आया आपको? बाय बाय. उनका बहुत सारे नाम हैं. अच्छा. उनका क्या नाम था? अस्सलाम वालेकुम. मीटिंग चल रही है तो आज नहीं. ठीक है. अभी नहीं आ सकता. All right, let's continue from there. Can I get in the chat from the live stream if everyone can hear me? Muhammad Jawan, hello as well. Falu Rahman as well. Good. Okay. So yes. What was I saying? Yes. So I'm going to be exploring the agent development kit with you. I work with a bit of Python, but I usually use AI to understand what I'm doing, or to look at Google tutorials, look at documentation, and follow as a developer should. So we are going to look into what agent development kit is and how we can go from there. And what I want you to do is to feel free to share the questions in the chat, and then we are going to take it from there. ठीक है, so let's begin. I'm going to also share my screen, hopefully. I'm not really sure how it's going to work when I have two different things sharing my screen, but let's see. Select a region. So people who are in the Build with AI meeting, just let me know if you can see the screen nicely. I'm going to try this again. So 1, 2, 3. You should be able to see my screen. Good. Okay. सही जबरदस्त. So we're going to look at what agent development kit is and how you can start using it, and why I think it's really good. So one of the things when it comes to learning AI and implementing it is that you need to know the core concepts. You need to know artificial neural network, recurrent neural network, what is I don't know, lemmatization, blah blah blah. So you have all those concepts that go before you even start talking about machine learning and then AI. When it comes to today's world of learning how to work with AI, the barrier is really low because of all these advancements that are coming in. So you need a couple of things to get started. First of all, even before going to the agent development kit, what you need to ensure is that you have at least Python installed in your machine. So you could use you cannot use Python that is above 3.12. So 3.13 will not work, especially when you're trying to deploy your agent to Google Cloud. Okay. Adil is asking, आपको AI ML भी आता है कभी कभी. So let's begin with this. So Abhi, if I go to my code base, and let me know in the chat if I need to zoom in a bit more. So you need to make sure that you have Python installed, and you can install it based on your operating system. So you can do it for Linux, Mac OS, etc. But you should have Python installed. I have Python 3.13 installed as well, but I also have Python 3.12 installed as well, as you can see. And 3.12 is the one that can be used for at least deploying it. What is asking, can we use Google Colab? Yes, if the Google Colab uses the Python kernel correctly, then you can use it. Yes. So 3.12.2 works as well. So that's primarily for deploying. But when you want to try out the agent development kit, that's not a big problem. Okay. So let's go back to what is an agent development kit. So from Google, what they have done is basically, if I try to summarize it, they've created a library for us to use to quickly create agents. That's, I think, the easiest way I can try to explain what an agent development kit is. So you have a library that gives you a bunch of classes. For example, it gives you an agent, it gives you a sequential agent, parallel agent, blah, blah, blah. And by that, you can design your agent to do certain things. I think that's the easiest way I can try to explain it, and that makes it easier to quickly get started when it comes to the agent development kit. So if you're using Windows or you're using Mac OS, you are going to most likely install Google ADK, which is the library, to try to install the ADK on a global level. If you're using Linux, and by the way, I'm using Arch Linux, by the way, and that doesn't allow you to install it like this. So you have pipx that you can use for installing. So just a quick note there, if anyone is using Arch Linux. Can we use Anaconda environment? Yes, you can. You can use it. So once you have this, what does the agent development kit provide you? You have agents that you can run on cloud. You can run locally as well, but obviously you would want to run them on cloud if you want to really create an app. Okay. So let's quickly talk about how you can get started. Okay. I'll go through some basic examples as well, just towards code as well, and then we're going to try out as well something. In the meantime, you can also type in the chat, what kind of agent would you like to create? What kind of agent do you imagine? What should it do? Okay. So what are the things that you want an agent to do? So let's write in the chat. And for now, we are talking about textual agents only. So any agent that can summarize text, that can generate text more or less, or take a text and do something on it. So all that kind of thing. So let me know in the chat what kind of agents would you want to create. And in the meantime, I'll go through one of the examples that I can share for how we can create an agent in that case as well. We're going to try to create something that is very basic, does a really simple thing, and then we'll take it from there. Okay. So let's say we install the Google ADK, and then we can start creating our project. So I'm going to go to my code here, and let's quickly go and create a new folder. So I'm going to go into projects. I'm going to go and do a new folder here. So we can say TFUG Islamabad exercise. Yeah, let's say workshop. So we go inside there, and what we can quickly do is we go to the folder, and then we start creating our project and our folders, etc. Okay. So let's quickly start with an editor. So what I'm going to do is let's quickly create a folder here. We are going to say, so I'm looking into the chat. What kind of tools are we talking about? Agriculture expert says Ruxar. Okay, good. Omar Khalil says automate. Okay. Sadhav says, sir, what is the need for an agent? We can do the same using AWS amplify function. Kind of, but not entirely. You can do similar things with amplify function, but it's not exactly the same. Automate LinkedIn posting. That's a good thing. Yes. When you talk about the automation and you're talking about including different tools, we are going with agents, but not just the agents, but more than that as well. For example, your agent is not going to be just summarizing text or taking an input and giving you an output, which the agent usually does, but it will be performing more actions. It would be most likely creating external API calls that would do the posting. But we are going to get into that as well. So how about we start with a really quick example to see how you can work with an agent or with the agent development kit, and then we take it further, like step by step. Okay. So I'm going to go through the process how I like to learn, so I can show you that as well, and then you can obviously follow the same thing. And usually it's not that hard. You just go to the documentation, start with there, right? So a couple of things. We need to have the Python environment set up. So what I'm going to do is, since I've already set or I already have the Python 3.12, I'm going to set up with that, right? So I can quickly copy this. I can go to my the right folder here, and let's quickly create um, a window here. So here we can quickly go to the folder, and I'm going to say Python 3.12, and then we are going to create a virtual environment. When you create a virtual environment with Python, you can install packages right here in this virtual environment and not globally, right? So now we have our Python environment created. Then what you need to do is to source this environment. So you can do source, and in here you can go ahead and say venv bin activate. Again, I want you to remember this. I'm not a Python expert, I'm not an AI expert, but we are going to do it together. Okay, so now that we have this, we can quickly go ahead and create our folder. So inside here, we can talk about our folder. I think I like the idea of talking about LinkedIn or email, right? Let's say we want to create an agent that searches for something and then generates a LinkedIn post out of it, and then also generates an email copy of it. Okay, how does that sound? Can I get some thumbs ups in the chat? So an agent that does some research and then tries to write an email copy and also a LinkedIn copy as well. Good. So we can say here we're going to call this TFUG agent. To make it more cool, we'll say it agent X, and that's not what I wanted to do. So let's delete. So TFUG agent X, but as a folder. So we create a folder here. Then we go ahead and we try to also create a file here. So we are going to create an env file here, and we are going to also create an init.py, which basically creates this as a package. Then we are also going to create an agent.python as well. So agent.py, right? These are the three files that you would usually need for creating a simple agent. And I'm going to refer to the documentation back and forth. If you look at the documentation, this is what it says. You have to have a workspace folder. And then in the workspace folder, you should have your agent, right? And then you should have these three files. So we have already created these files, right? Now, when it comes to using the agent, or what does the init.py have, it just has this from dot import agent. What this would do is, if I go back to my code, we go back to init.py, and then we essentially go ahead and just paste this, and that's it. Now we can start looking at the env file. So we should have a couple of things in our env file, including some variables for the Google API key. Then we should have another variable that is specifically for what was that, running it on Vertex AI or not, right? So again, I'm going to go back and forth to the documentation quite a lot. So if I scroll down here, it says we need to create an env file, right? And then here we can quickly see the folder here, sorry, the variables here. So here we have two variables. First of all, do you want to use your model in Vertex AI, which is a managed service by Google, and that is quite scalable. So when you run your agents in Vertex AI, you can scale them as per your needs as well. Or you could also run this just on the AI Studio level, and not on Vertex AI, so to say. So you run it on Gemini rather. So what we are going to do is we are going to essentially copy these two folders, and we are going to go back to our code here, and we are going to paste that in the env file. So make sure you're doing it in the right file, right? Now, when it comes to Google API key, you can quickly go to aistudio.google.com. Okay. How many of you have used AI Studio Google.com? Can I have some thumbs ups? One, Varis, Rehan. Okay. We got a couple of them. Good. Nice. Really good to hear that. So we go to get API key, and in here you need to create one of the API keys. So I've created a bunch of them. I'm going to create one more. So create an API key, And please someone remind me to revoke that. So I'm going to pick a key here, and now I have a key. I'm going to quickly copy this, and now we go back to our code, and then we go here, we change that, and then we go ahead and try to use our agent now, right? So now we are at a point where we can actually start creating an agent, and we see what it does. So we need a couple of things. First of all, we need to have some packages installed, of course. So what we are going to do is, at the root of this folder, we are also going to create a requirements.txt file. This will contain all the packages that we need, right? So one of the packages that we do need is the Google Agent Development Kit, of course. So let's quickly try to figure that out. So if I go here, and let's go back to the documentation. Da, 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 da. Let me see if I've missed anything. Yes. So here, what you do is you create an agent by just importing this particular line. So you have from Google ADK agents import agent. So we start with that. So let's go back to our code. We're going to import the class agent from the Google ADK agents. Okay. Now we can start creating an agent for ourselves. So what we can do is we can say root underscore agent equals to agent. And this is why I say this becomes super easy for us to start using it, right? We can call it whatever, and then we can give it some tools, etc. So we are going to start with giving it a particular name. So let's quickly try to give this a name. We're going to call it, what did we decide? We would have a researcher, and then we are going to generate a LinkedIn post and an email, right? So let's talk about LinkedIn agent. So one of the things that you'll see a lot of AI supporting tools, and by the way, I'm running GitHub Copilot in my editor at the moment. So it's suggesting some things that are completely stupid. So for example, the name should not have spaces in them. So you can say LinkedIn, but no space. Otherwise, it's just going to start failing. So we start with that, right? Then what we say is the description, and every single thing that you provide here, including the name, including the description, and then the instruction, all of them is really important, because Google or the Google Agent Development Kit, it essentially combines all of these things that you have in your code, not just the code properties that you give, but essentially your whole agent's configuration, and that it uses it in the large language model to decide what to do and how to do certain things, right? So what I'm going to quickly do is, let's say we can say this, or an agent that helps you with LinkedIn posts that go viral, for example, right? You might have seen a lot of AI posts lately on LinkedIn. So you can now be one of them. Please don't. Okay, so now we have the tools here. I'm going to actually remove tools from here, and then quickly go ahead with the next thing that is called instruction. So every agent requires an instruction. And as you can see, it says instructions. Don't use the S in there. And now we can start working with our instruction. So how do we say? We're going to go with some things from AI, but we are going to give our input as well here. So by default, we are saying you're a LinkedIn post agent or a LinkedIn post generator agent. Your task is to create engaging and viral LinkedIn post based on a given topic, right? Now we're going to say what it should have. So there's a certain criteria per my research on LinkedIn, and I've been able to grow my LinkedIn from nothing to almost 17,000 followers. And I think maybe just a couple of months ago, or maybe 7 to 8 months ago, it was not even 7,000 or 8,000. So I try to go into seeing how platforms work, and if I can crack the code and see if I can grow on those platforms. So I know what works on LinkedIn. So let's say we talk about each post should have a catchy hook. Okay, you can also say it a primary hook, right? That is exciting. And attention grabbing, right? Attention grabbing. Okay. And you can also say then it should have a post hook. And for the post hook, usually what works is this should be either exactly complementing the primary hook or should be completely opposite. So here we can say this should be supporting the primary hook or completely negating it. Okay, then the post should have some action items, or we could say should have line breaks, have bullet points, and then some action items. And I can also say don't forget the emojis, but don't overdo it. As you can see, um, ask for a call to action at the end of the post, ask to repost as well, use relevant hashtags. Now, one thing that you might have noticed is what I just did is super boring and it took a lot of time. But the reality is that your agent or your AI model can be as good as the prompt. So you have to spend time on writing the prompt that actually does or exactly does what you want to do, right? So you need to make sure that you're spending time on this particular problem quite a lot. Okay. So now that we have done it, we are ready to get embarrassed for the first time to see if it actually works or not. Most of the times, for me, it doesn't work. So what we are going to do is we're going to switch to the new window and make sure that you are on the folder or the workspace folder, right? Remember, we have this agent inside the workspace folder, right? So you need to have ADK, Google ADK installed by default, but you should also have Google ADK installed in within your repository as well, which we did not do, by the way. So what we're going to do is we're going to quickly go to our requirements.txt. And did we write everything here? Look at that. So we're going to quickly remove this. We're going to go to agent file and then paste it there and then save it. And then in the requirements.txt, we need to have what? Google ADK, right? So we're going to quickly save this. I'm trying to remember if I need anything more in here. Yes, Google Generative AI. So we need these two packages for sure. Okay, so let's quickly save this. Now what we are going to do is go here, and I've already sourced the environment, if you remember. So I can quickly say pip install to install the packages. And now you can see that it is installing whatever it needs to run the project. Bilal Nadim says, will we get the recording of it? This is being live streamed, so you will see this on YouTube, on my YouTube channel later on as well. No problem at all. I'm looking at the questions in the meantime. So we have... Can we make AI agents for support system for WhatsApp if we don't take WhatsApp Business API? If we do not take WhatsApp Business API, for sending messages on WhatsApp, you would probably have to have the WhatsApp API if you want to communicate on the WhatsApp platform itself. You can create agents that summarize text for you, that take some messages, respond to them, or ask questions. That can happen, but you would have to communicate with WhatsApp API, as far as my understanding is. Okay, so now that we have looked into this, we have the packages installed. So now what do? We run ADK web. When you run this particular command, Google Agent Development Kit already provides you a UI that you can essentially start using. So if I go to localhost 8000, I should be able to see my Agent Development Kit running. So here I can say localhost 8000. And here you can see a nice UI. By the way, this is built with Angular from the Google team, not from me, but this is built with Angular. And here you will see that we have the agent right here. Now it's the time. Can we create a post about something? So let's say we say create a post about why agriculture is important for Pakistan. Right? Let's go with that by default. If it works, then we'll see something coming up. So I'm going to also open this thing called token streaming, so we get the response in streaming. So let's enter this. All right, so now you can see no model found for a linked agent because we forgot one of the major things, and that is not really specifying what model we use. So we are going to go, as I said, we're going to embarrass ourselves. successful, mission failed successfully. So if I go to the agent, one of the things that we want to do here is we want to use something called model, and model should be Google Gemini. Oh, not Google. It should be Gemini Flash or 2.0 Flash. If you want to use something while you're experimenting, Gemini 2.0 Flash is one of the best things because it doesn't charge you quite a lot. It's really fast as well when it comes to responding. So definitely try that out. So we're gonna go quickly back and run ADK Web again. What I usually try to do is I try to rerun it when I've made some changes, so I get the fresh copy instead of just guessing if everything works now. Now I'm gonna enable token streaming, ask a question, and wait for the next error. We don't have any error. Yay! So now we have a LinkedIn post generator in how many lines of code? If we go here, like it's not even 20 lines of code, and we have an agent working for us, right? The beauty of this is that not only this is available via the Agent Development Kit web or ADK web, it is also available via Fast API as well, which is not for production, but it converts your agent and exposes endpoints using Fast API, which means you can now do curl calls against your agent, which is super interesting. So if I go back to the agent here, now you can see that here says, all right, here's a LinkedIn post draft about this is. Now we've got a primary hook, as you can see. And then there's a secondary hook that says it's not just about form fields, it's the backbone of our nation, making it a bit controversial, making people click it, as they say. And then we have a bunch of bullet points, as you can see. We have action items, as you can see. It has not forgotten about the emojis. And you can see here we have asking for repos, all the hashtags. So you have something that's generated automatically. And if you integrate more things into your process, for example, if you could include an agent that outputs an image, for example, you have a LinkedIn post that has a text and has an image as well, and then you can take it from there. So this is super exciting. Now I want to put your attention to some other things here as well. In this case, we got only one output. When you click this, you're going to see that we have events being popped up here as well. And you can also see that we have other things, but I'm going to go with the first event. So you either click here or you click here. And then you can see that this is the agent, our LinkedIn agent that we have created. And this is the event in general. So the text that you see right here is essentially this one, right? It will tell you what kind of response it was. Was it a user that responded or a model? And then also who's the author of it, etc., etc. Now this becomes really interesting. Interesting. Now this becomes really interesting because when you have multiple models, you can inspect which model returned the right response. And that is what you want to see when you're actually debugging this. Any questions so far? I'm going to take a pause for you to digest this and then ask any questions about what we have done so far. And I'm going to share the link in the chat. Someone asked about my YouTube and LinkedIn channel. If you go to CodewithAhsan.dev, you're going to find all the links right there. But yeah, but let's do that. You can quickly go to CodewithAhsan.dev. Pin this message. And I've pinned that as well. I'm going to quickly show you in the meantime as well. And in the meantime, feel free to ask any questions. And if you want to ask via your microphone as well, you can do that as well. If you go to my site, you should be able to find the links at the bottom. So you can find the LinkedIn here as well. And you can also analyze my posts as well on LinkedIn, like what do I try to do usually. So you can find the LinkedIn as well. You can find the YouTube as well. We just crossed 25,000 subscribers there as well. And there is a whole series of agent development kit there as well if you want to explore a bit more. So we have 3 videos there already where we create our first agent. We then create an agent that uses tools. Then we also create a multimodal agent as well, where we look at multiple agents working together. So we're going to look into all of that, what we have done so far on YouTube here in this session as well, briefly, so we understand that as well. But I'm not really seeing any questions from you. How about we take a 5 minutes break? Does that work for everyone? Can I get some thumbs ups in the chat? Do we want to take a break? Just go ahead and have some water, stay hydrated. And I also haven't had my coffee yet. So I'm going to make my coffee and then come back. Yes, Najma says the meeting will end in 13 minutes. Yes, Ali will most likely take care of it, and maybe we'll restart the meeting, and then I'll rejoin, or maybe we can just rejoin the same meeting when that happens. Okay. All right. So I'll be right back. See you in a bit. I'm assuming Abhi, it's about 11:45 in Pakistan. So we connect back in at 11:50. So see you. All right, we are going to resume in a couple of minutes. Still have 2 minutes. Computer knowledge says, Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How's it going? How are you doing? How are you doing? में से कोई वेब डिजाइनर है? I'm not really sure. Okay, I'm back. So we will start in 1 minute. We'll resume in 1 minute, inshallah. Sorry, आपकी आवाज बहुत ब्रेक हो रही है. Come again. I could not understand what you said. Okay, best sounds good. I'm going to join it. Okay, let's see. All right. Okay, it's time. So we start. We'll continue. So we have looked into what an agent development kit usually does and how we can utilize it. Now we're going to go a couple of steps further. Okay. What we are going to try to do is we're going to now not only use a simple agent that basically takes a question and then does something. We are also going to look into how it can use tools, different tools, for example. So, for example, here we have a situation where you have a get weather tool, which is essentially a Python function, and then we have get current time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to essentially copy this one, and let's see if this is based on something. So we have zone info, date and time, etc. So let's see if I can copy this. Now, if I try to go back to my code, what we can do is we can try to define this particular function here. So here, and I'm going to zoom out a bit. So here we have now created a function called get current time, and everybody can see my screen and hear me well, right? Just give some thumbs up. And I don't think we should be waiting for people a bit more. Okay, so we got this right here. And now I can quickly go ahead and import the zone info stuff as well. So let's go to the documentation. And as I mentioned, this is the best way to try out things. So we go and copy date and time and zone info. And then we go here, we paste this information here as well. And now we are most likely good to go. So let's quickly check if there are any errors. No, they're not. Now that we have this agent here as well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try, and my camera died, I'm going to just change the battery. But regardless, what we're going to do is we are going to create an agent that also uses this tool. So let's say we try to create an agent here, and we call it. I'm trying to think if we should create a new one or just use this one. Let's go ahead with defining the tools here as well. So let's say tools, and in here we can refer the get current time. So let's quickly save this. So we are using the same agent, but we are now also adding the possibility of it basically understanding time or getting us time as well. So I'm going to restart the ADK web. Let's quickly go back to, and I'm going to share the demo as well. Give me 1 second. Okay, I need to reshare my screen. Give me 1 second. I need to fix something for my stream. So select region, select this guy, and again select region and select this place. Okay. Good. Not really. Let's see if I can fix this. So entire screen, region, select region. I think for some reason within my operating system, when I try to share the screen, I have to do it 2 times. I will figure this out when I have some time on why that happens. Okay, but both on stream and on the Google Meet, everybody can see this now. So now that we have our ADK web running, let's quickly go back. And now if I try to go to my agent development kit, I'm going to go and refresh this. And now I can basically ask it, can you help me? Can in the Google Meet, can you all see the browser at the moment? Or do you see the code itself? No. Okay. I thought about that. Okay. Let me try to do that again. So I'm going to share my entire screen. I think it perhaps shared a window. Let's try this again, entire screen. And then we go and do this. Nice. You should be able to see it now. So now if I say, can you help me? The agent will say, I sure can. I'm an agent that specializes in creating viral LinkedIn posts. What topic would you like me to create a post about? If I ask it, can you just tell me the current time? What does it do? And now it says, I need to know the city to look up the current time, right? Let's say I say New York. And then you can see something happened here. What really happened? It essentially went to a particular tool to get the time. So this is a tool call, and here is the response of it. And you can see all of this here. So if I click this particular event, you're going to see that LinkedIn agent went to, or this is the LinkedIn agent that I tried to talk to. If I go to the next event, you're going to see that the get current time is the tool that was triggered, so to say, or that was called. Then it responded with that, with this. So if you look at both of these things, you will see that this one is a function call, the first one, this one. And then if you go to the next one, this is the function response. And the function response tells us what essentially is the current time. So this is the text that we got back, and then we can see that. So not only you can have AI agents using the ADK, just working with the model, for example, Google Gemini or OpenAI, etc. You also have the possibility of introducing your own Python functions that could make an API call, get back the response, etc., and then can take it from there as well. So, for example, if I try to say, let's do one thing really quickly. I'm gonna try to use AI to the fullest in this case. So if I say def, and if I say get random user from random user me, okay, and then I create a function that basically makes this particular API call and then returns back a random user for me. So if I say this, I'm going to try to quickly show you what I mean. So here we have a function that makes an API call, gets back the response, and then returns a user using random user.me. Right? Let's say if you try to introduce this particular thing into our sort of tool chain as well, then what happens? So I also add this, I go back, and then let's rerun this. Now I'm going to go back here, and then I can refresh, and I can simply say, give me a random user. And now you can see that it actually understood what was the idea. It went here, got to the tool, got back the response, and then showed it, right? Everybody good with this so far? So you can create your own functions and you can use them as tools which extend the ability of your agent. So your agent is not bound, which it is by default, to the knowledge base that it has been trained on, for example, Google Gemini Flash. So whatever data it has been trained on, it can only respond to that. But if you add tools to it, you essentially are providing it, you can say, more hands. So it can go to certain functions and then bring some more data and becomes more capable. Okay. So these are the tools that you could start to basically add to your code base. But you can also essentially go ahead and create agents that use something else. But for this particular example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these examples because you can find them pretty easily on from Google, etc. And you can also find the same from my YouTube channel and my GitHub repository as well. What we are going to do rather is we are going to use a tool that is from Google itself. So we say from Google ADK tools import, and we use a tool called Google search. And instead of this, we essentially go ahead and we use Google search. And just by adding this, which is by default in Google ADK, you can use it. Sorry, I'm getting some message from people that say we have an issue with the screen sharing again. So I'm going to ask Linux why you do this to me. Let's see. The screen is not updating. Yes, I got it. Hopefully Hopefully it keeps working as before, because it seemed to be working before. I'm gonna try to do this again, and let me know in the Google Meet chat if yours stop working or not. So if I say, yeah, I think now yours has stopped working. That's a bit of a shame. um how can we ensure that everything works? Maybe what I can do is, mm, 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 mm. No, that's gonna be not. Mm, 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 mm. Because I want to do this on both, and it only seems to be working in one of those. I'm changing my tabs. Can the Google Meet people see those changing as well, or is it stuck? Can you type in the chat? Is it stuck for you? No changings? Hmm. Allow a restore token. Let's see. Let me try this once more. If it doesn't work, then we are going to just go with the. Then we are going to go with maybe the live stream only. Okay. How about now? Do you see everything? I think both of you should be seeing this, right? Changes. Okay, I see that both of them do. I'm going to try to still keep this way. If it becomes too small, let me know in the chat. I'll try to zoom in a bit more. Okay. So now we have a Google search tool embedded into our LinkedIn agent. So what we are going to do is we are going to now try to do something uh, that's not old, so to say. We're going to try to use something that's a bit new. For example, we're going to try to ask or ask it to create a post for us for Angular version 20, which is actually coming pretty soon. I think it's going to be announced on 29th of May. So we're going to say create a post about Angular v20 and its new features. So we start talking about this, right? And now we'll see what it comes up with. So now you see we have actually two things happening instead of one. The first one is, okay, I can create a LinkedIn post, etc. And here you can see there was a Google search that happened with Angular uh, v20 new features, right? And if I click this, I actually go to the link that actually did that, right? So in this particular situation, we now have Angular v20 is here, zoneless change detection, testing facilities, blah, blah, blah. A lot of cool things. And now I have a post ready to just send out on LinkedIn. How cool is this? For in general, I would have had to spend time on, for example, ChatGPT or even Google I Studio. But how you can combine these agents to do the things is actually the juice of it. And then there's one question from Ruxar: how can we deliver this to our clients, and how do you deploy it in cloud for clients? We are going to go into that in just a bit as well. Jamal says, kindly zoom in. It's going to be tough. I can try. I can try. Let me try this guy. Because the problem is I have a really wide screen. Okay, I can see that it sort of works. Nah. No, it doesn't. Okay, let me try this one more time, and then if it doesn't, then I'm just going to make it work for the Google Meet, and we are going to ignore the stream in that case, because we want to focus on the Google Meet. Give me 1 second. So we try this one time, we share the screen, and you should be able to see it. Then I try this for this guy. Okay, let me know if you can see this changing, both on the stream and both on Google Meets. I can see it changing both places. Good. Okay, let's not waste time, and then we can move forward. So now that we have a tool integrated, we are going to talk about going into the next step of it. So creating more agents. So we talked about a couple of things. We wanted to have a researcher. We wanted to have an email copy writing agent, and then also we wanted to have the LinkedIn post agent, right? So we're going to start with creating another agent. So we are going to say we will use an email copywriting agent. So, or we can say researcher agent. We are going to start with creating the agent. We are going to give it a particular name, instruction, etc. So we are going to use by default what comes up. So here we have a researcher agent. Then it's going to use the Google search, okay? And then here it says it can use Google search tool to find information on the web, right? Once it has this done, and can you please, sorry, can you please, Ali, can you highlight or spotlight my screen instead of my face? I think that could make things easier for everyone. Okay, so they can zoom in as well. Okay, good. Thank you. So we have this right now. We can also ask it to use multiple sources to get their information and provide summaries for a later agent to pick them up. Okay. When you try to use agents in a way that they work together, you need to have something called an output key. And you can look into this from the documentation itself. So if I go back to the documentation here, try to see out, let's go to, let's say, agent team, and then we can look into output key, right? So when you talk about output key, this is essentially what tells the other agents what was the output of a certain agent. So what we want to do is we want to do a research, then we want to go ahead from there to creating a LinkedIn post, and then we want to create an email from there as well. So how do we do this? We're going to essentially use this output key from here. So we say output key, and here we can say research summary, right? Now, when we have this, instead of calling this root agent, we are going to call it LinkedIn agent, okay? And then what we want to do is we want to use this research summary to generate the LinkedIn post. So not every tool has to use the Google search. So we are removing from the LinkedIn agent our tool. And now what we are going to do is we are going to say your LinkedIn agent or a post generator agent, your task is to create engaging viral posts, blah, blah, blah. And on the given topic from, and here we can use from, and here we are going to essentially give this context. So notice that I'm using these curly braces. I'm going to zoom in a bit. So you're going to see that we are using these curly braces to say what is going to be the key. If I go ahead and here say research summary, when you use in your instruction a curly brace like this, curly brace setup like this, that essentially makes this a state variable, which is available across your agentic AI team. So this is going to immediately fetch information from here. So this has to be exactly the same. They cannot be different, and there shouldn't be no typo as well. When you do this, now your LinkedIn agent is capable of doing this, which is amazing, right? So now that we have this implemented, I want to show you something that we're going to use, and that is we're going to use an agentic team that has a now it's trying to find those things. Give me 1 second. Agents, and then we have workflow agents. So when you're talking about actually delivering value, you're going to see 3 different agents. We have sequential agents. I'm going to zoom in a bit. We have sequential agents, we have loop agents, and then we have parallel agents. When you want to say, I want to have the flow in a certain sequence, you're going to use this. If you want to have one after the another or one after the other one, then you use the sequential agent in a sequence. If you want to run more agents in parallel, you use the parallel agents to execute them together to not waste time. And then if you want to have a loop agent, that means that, for example, if I ask instead of creating one post, I give it 10 different topics and want to create posts for 10 of those, then it's going to run a loop over them and then would run it till the last item. So these are the three things that you could use. But let's go with the sequential agent by default. The sequential agent can be quickly used like this. And as I showed you the example, you give an input, it goes from agent 1, and then it goes to the agent 2, and then it essentially goes towards the output. So in this example, what we can do is we are going to retrieve this this sequential agent, and we're essentially going to just give this the sub agent. So these are the two things that you need to give it. And let's have a quick look at. I think we can quickly import this from the agent itself. So let's try this out. So I'm going to go back to my code here, and we're going to go to the top, and in here, apart from the agent, we're going to use sequential agent. One more thing, that instead of using agent, sometimes you'll also see that we are using something called LLM agent, which is the same thing. So you can either use agent, which is an alias, or an LLM. It's both of them are the same. So now that we have two different agents, we have LinkedIn agent and we have our researcher agent. We can quickly go here and say we have a root agent that is a sequential agent. So we use the sequential agent class, and then we need to give this the name. So we are going to call this TFUG X agent, and here we can give the description. So we can say an agent that generates or helps us with research and LinkedIn posts. Okay, then this one does not need a particular, what do you call it, instruction. So this one doesn't need an instruction. This doesn't even need a model, because a sequential agent is just executing things in sequence. It doesn't do anything itself. It doesn't talk to a large language model. It just navigates through agents. So this is important to understand. Now that we have this, we can quickly call the sub agents, and we can say we have a researcher agent and we have a LinkedIn agent. Easy peasy. Then we close this, and now our root agent becomes the sequential agent. Now we're going to quickly go ahead and restart our ADK web. Now we go back to our agent development kit, and here, now I'm going to quickly refresh this. Token streaming. Let's see if it works now. So if I do this, you're going to see that now it says I'm going to do about V20, and now it's giving us some information here, summarizing it. And here you can see that this is what happened. So now you can see that the second model, or the second use case, or let's actually look at the events. So the first model was this one. The TFUG agent essentially went first to the researcher agent. We're not talking about the tool here. We're talking about the agent itself, right? The researcher agent uses the Google search by default. So this one then went ahead and used the Google search, and then is supposed to give us back the response from this. Let's quickly see if it did all those things. Yes, but I don't see one thing. Let's actually see. If I'm going to refresh this, I'm curious if it actually used the search or not, or did we miss it? We did add the tool. Okay, so here you can see that it does it. Maybe in the token streaming it doesn't show you. So by default, when you're using the non-token streaming, and play around with this, I found sometimes this confusing on what this outputs, but essentially the first thing was this one. So the researcher agent essentially uses the Google search and then gives us the response back once it calls it. So uses the Google search internally, and it doesn't show the Google search as the other tools that we use, like Python functions, separately here on the ADK web, because this uses it internally. And then we got our first response from the researcher agent, and then we got the second response. But you can already see that there are two steps involved for the first agent, this one and then this one. And then we have this second step where it uses the previous information and then just uses it. This is also to save time, large language model calls. For example, if you are using OpenAI, Claude, and let's say Google Gemini, you may want to do because Google Gemini is usually cheaper, especially the Flash version, you can use that for bigger tasks or tasks that have large text information needed to be processed. And once you have a summary from that, then you can pass this to other agents so they charge you less. That's what I would do, basically. So let's say we talked about this. Let's quickly go back. And in here, now we have a sequential agent. Now let's try to create the email agent quickly so we can move forward. So here we are going to say email, copy, agent. And here we're going to do the same thing. We have to do the same research that we had before. So I'm going to let the AI generate it, and let's quickly verify if it's okay. So we have email copy agent, an agent that helps you with the email copy. Okay. Then the instruction is you're an email copy agent. Your task is to create engaging viral email copy based on the given topic from research summary. This is what I was looking for. Does it use the same variable, or does it use the same context or not? Well, it does. So that means our agent should be working fine. So let's quickly save this now. I'm going to quickly go back and restart it. And now we should be able to see it. So if I go back, I try this once again, refresh, and do this. And I said this in my videos as well, that you don't really understand how cool this is, that I don't have to do anything at all apart from just writing this one line. And it does a whole research for me that I can back up if I wanted to do. And I can also see my posts as well. I can also see my emails as well. So all of those things are quite possible. So in here, we forgot one thing. What did we forget? We forgot to add that to our subagents. So we need to also add that in our email copy. Let's quickly do that. Let's restart this. And we're going to go back to our ADK web here, and we're going to just try this out now. Let's see. All right, so you see we got four outputs now. So the first one is the researcher. Okay. If you look at this, the first one is the researcher agent that uses the Google search internally. The second one is LinkedIn agent. If I go here, this is our LinkedIn post now, right? If I go to the third one, that's our email copy agent. And now here we have the email copy. So if you have a blog or a newsletter that you want to send emails on, now you've got both of them. You can basically send this on LinkedIn, send this on emails as well. And you can see here we got the subject as well. We got the simple message here as well. And you can tailor this based on your platform as well. For example, if you're using Ghost or something else, you can also use that as well. By the way, if you want to keep, I think I just thought of a shameless plug that I could add here. If you're interested in knowing more about AI or Angular, etc., or articles, if you are someone who wants to read rather than watch videos, you can also subscribe to the newsletter as well, which is free, and you get all the information in your inbox. What happened? Where did my window go automatically? Press the wrong button. Okay, let's see. All right, let's see if I can go back to where I was. So here, okay, good. Cool. So let's have a look at the next thing. Now that we have learned how we can work with agents, what are the questions that you have? Because I have a couple of things that I can share. And I'm not going to go and code it myself. I think I've done enough of live coding for now. We have a couple of examples that we can see. One, an actual agent that has even more models, which is going to be the same examples at what we did right now. Another example is how we can use multiple AI models together, or multiple providers. So not just Google models, but let's say ChatGPT. We can also use Claude in that case as well. How we can use those could be one of the things I could share with you. And then we can also look into how can we get a structured output, which means that I don't want text information from my large language model. I want from it that it gives me a specific JSON back. So imagine your front end talking to the large language model, but it only always gives you back a JSON, which is predictable. So your front end code can then respond on that. And we're going to see an example. So we can look into multiple providers. We can look into how you can get structured output, and we can also look into how you can deploy this. So which one is it? Which one should we look at? Because we have quite a less time. I think we don't have more than 10 minutes. So I'm going to repeat again: structured output, multiple AI models from different providers, or deployment. Deployment. Okay. So let's have a quick look at deployment. Um, and to be honest, you don't even need like my help for that. If you go to the documentation, you're going to see that it's quite straightforward. So let's have a look at the example here. So an agent can be deployed into multiple places or multiple ways, so to say. What you do is you essentially build your package, or you package your agent into a container that can be deployed to Vertex AI agent engine, that can be deployed to Cloud Run, which is also by Google, or you could also run it on your own Docker, basically host provider, whatever you want to call it. You can also run it on GK, on Prem, or any Docker host that you want. So it's possible to just deploy your agent, and then you can communicate with the agent using the API key and the Python SDK itself. So let's have a look at Vertex AI agent. So how do we do this? We essentially go ahead and we say, oh, all right, agent engines. We're going to get agent engines from Vertex AI, which means you need the Vertex AI package now. And it's a bit different one, so I'm going to show you that as well. Then we also need to have, then we need to create our agent engine, or we are creating a new agent. We give our root agent that we just saw that. I'm going to share the link in the chat. Someone asked for a link. That's the wrong link. I'm gonna give you the right link now. I'm gonna give the link in the chat on the live stream as well. All right, let's see. I'm gonna move this about here. Good. So we need these packages for deployment, and for essentially when we deploy our agent to Google Cloud, these are the packages that I would also be needing. So this is important. So we take our root agent, which we just created for like a sequential agent that we just did, right? And then we can essentially go ahead and start asking questions from there. So what you need to do in this case is you need to install this package in your requirements txt. So what we are going to do is, or we're not going to do, I'm just going to show you the code. As I said, we don't have too much time. But what you do is a couple of things. Let's summarize this. We use a remote app, or we create an engine. Then what we do is we initiate our Vertex AI project. You need a project ID, the location, and a staging bucket. Okay, let's try to go to console.cloud.google.com. So here I have a project called Multiversity, and I have a bunch of things happening here. But what I want to show you is, let's see if I can find it quickly. I can go to cloud storage, and in here you would want to create a particular bucket. I already have a bucket created, so I can show it to you. But essentially, you want to create a bucket, and you can find some YouTube tutorials on that as well. But I'm going to show you the concept that, or an overview of what you need to do. So I have this marketing campaign assistant, which is a bucket that I have already created. Once you deploy your agent, it essentially goes ahead and creates that inside here. So you can see that folder browser. If I can go inside here, da, 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 da. Is it the same one or is it the different one? No, it should be. Is that not the one? Let me see if I am in the wrong one. If I go to this guy, do I have buckets there? No, that's not the one. Let's see. Aha, here we have it. So we got the source here as well. No, I'm definitely missing where it should have been. So this was April 21, 2025. This seems like it is the one that it should be. Marketing campaign assistant, that sounds about right. But let me, so this is marketing campaign assistant. Let me quickly check this from my code essentially. So let's open a new one. Let's go to AI and deploying agents. So we have here, let's see if I can go to deploying agents and social media post agent. And then I should have deploy. Yes, let's have a look at this. So here it should be, yeah, it should be the same. I don't know why I don't see the agent folder there. It could be that I'm not in the right region, quite possible. Is it central, multi-region, not enabled? No. Location, US. It seems to be the right one, but I can't find. Anyways, let's ignore it. But what you need in this particular example is you need to have your bucket created. So at least you need a bucket. Once you have your bucket, you can also have the project information. And once you have that, you need to initiate with your Vertex AI credentials. Once you do so, you create your app and you package it. As we saw in the documentation as well, I'm going to go back to the documentation so we don't get too confused. So we do the initialization, then we create our agent. So in here, you can see it's exactly the same thing that we did before. We just created our agent. Then we use the reasoning engines to create or package our application. Here you can see that we are saying that we are giving an agent development kit application, and then we are giving our root agent, and that's it. You also want to do enable tracing true as well, so you can trace when you are having some API calls for your agent, right? Once you do so, then you can even run your agent locally, or you can deploy it and try to use it from there even directly. So I'm going to show you some code that essentially makes everything happen. So once you have your agent app created, then this is what you do. You say agent engines.create, you give it your application that you just packaged. So rephrasing or summarizing once again. The first step, create your Vertex AI initiation. So you call with the init call, you give your project ID, your location, what is your project ID's location, which is usually US Central one, and then your bucket. Then you package your application. So here you create an ADK app. Third, you create an instance of your application or a deployment of your application on the app agent or the agent engine platform on Google. And this is how you do it. You essentially give your packaged application, and then you essentially go ahead and say requirements, blah, blah, blah. And then also, as an extra packages, you provide the source code or the social post agent, so to say. So you package your whole application, and then you give it the social post agent or whatever agent you have created. In our case, that would be the TFUGX agent that we have created. Once you do so, you will see that your application or your instance would be created. Once you have your instance created, now you can start interacting with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually show you, hopefully, when I go to the console here, and let's say we go to Trace Explorer. Da, 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 da. Let's see. Mm-hmm. And it could be that I'm not in the right region, but let's see. I'm going to try to find those. Uh, 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 some trace data and filters may only present in the legacy. Okay, let's see. We got Logs Explorer. I think it was definitely, yeah, here, I think. Logs Explorer, maybe. We'll see. So if I go back to my code here, I want to show you how you can interact with your code or with your agent. So you can do a couple of things. You can list the deployments. For example, when you deploy your agent that creates one single deployment, you can also have a history of deployments before as well. That's the first thing that you could do. Then you need to create the session. So when we talk about how do we give this to our users, remember, whenever you're using an agent development kit session, or when you're essentially going ahead with this notion, and I can perhaps share with an example in this case. I would be sharing it like this. So let's say your user comes up and your user says, okay, I'm going to talk to an agent. Each chat or conversation is essentially a single session that has a separate ID. In that session, you would have the user's messages, you would have the model's messages. All of these things can be saved within the session. Now, if there is an external chat or another user comes in, that's a different session. And you will see the same thing here in this particular ADK web interface as well. If I create a new session, this is lost, right? And as soon as my server restarts, or my Python, whatever I'm running, my Python command, which is ADK web, if I stop that, then my session is lost. Everything is gone. So by default, that's what happens. But you can go ahead and you can say, no, I don't really want these to be destroyed. I want this to be preserved. Now you have a couple of options to do that. For example, one of the things that you could do is you can create an in-memory session, and I can see if I can find this. Give me 1 second. Sessions and memory. So you can do a couple of things here. You can use this session service that essentially creates a session either in memory or on cloud as well. So we're skipping about on a couple of things, but I want to quickly tell you that whenever you need to generate or create a new conversation from a user and an agent, you need to have two things. You need to have a session, then you need to have the user ID. So the Google development kit or agent development kit knows that we're talking about this particular agent, this particular user, this particular session, because your application could be supporting multiple users since you have deployed it. So you need those things. If you go back to the code, you're going to see that we can create a session just like this. We essentially go ahead, use the agent engines. We try to get the resource ID, which is your deployment, and then you create a session. When you do deployment create a session, you need to provide a couple of things. As I mentioned, you need to give the user ID for sure. When you create a particular session, then you have your session ready. Now, what can you do with this session? You can send messages to this session. If I go down here, you're going to see we have the send message function that requires a couple of things. Which deployment are we talking about? Which means which agent app are we talking about? So it has to have its own unique ID. For example, we have the LinkedIn agent as a separate application. We also have, let's say, an Instagram agent as a separate application, completely separate workflow, completely separate deployment. So you need to say, oh, I'm going to actually go to the LinkedIn one. Then this is the user that I'm talking about. And this is the session ID that I'm talking about. Once you give all of these things, the ADK code that you're going to write here, for example, you can get the deployment. You can then send a message, as you can see right here. And you're sending a message here. You're saying deployment.stream query, and then you give the user ID, the session ID, and the message. Once you do so, you hit the right agent and the right session, and then it responds you with the right result. And then you can process that as well. We can quickly see an example of running it, but in the meantime, feel free to have any questions. So what I'm going to do here is, let's stop this server, and we're going to go to the next one. We're also going to go to this agent here. We're going to go to CD 6 deploying agents. And then what we can do is we have a social post agent here. So we CD into this social post agent. And then let me try to give you an example of how this could work once you have your code ready. And this is going to be my sixth video in the playlist. So you will also get all the code, etc., to try out. Now, if I try to go here and if I say Python, and then I say 3.12, and then I say run agent.python, let's see what happens. So here you can see that it says running the social post assistant. I have hard coded a message that says create a quick post about the latest trends in AI and machine learning, right? Now it's trying to take this particular message with a hard coded user ID. I'm saying it's user 123. Then it tries to go to the agent and does all of those things. So if we have a look at this, let's try to analyze what has really happened here. So you can see it did a lot of things. First of all, it used a researcher agent to research on the topic that I provided it, right? Wait, where did you go? Come back. Here. So it used the researcher agent to do some research. Then it came up with a social media post for LinkedIn, because I asked, in this particular setup, I have two things: a LinkedIn agent and an Instagram Reels agent. The LinkedIn agent creates a post for me. The Instagram agent generates a visual script for me, or how my reel should look. Like, what should I say? What should be the visuals, etc. So there are two different agents that we are talking about in this example, but I'm going to show you that quickly. So in this one, we are first creating this whole response, and then if I go down a bit, that was the response from the researcher. This is the LinkedIn post agent, and now we have a post right here, and now we have the Instagram Reel script agent that you can see right here. This one. So it says here that we have a hook, we have a voiceover, we have a scene one, scene two, scene three, scene four, and then the whole script as well. So in this particular example that I can show you in just a bit, if I go to my not deployments but agent itself, and again it's going to be the same similar example. So we have a LinkedIn model here, which is an agent. So we have OpenAI model, Cloud model here, etc. But we are using different models here. But we have a research agent, we have a LinkedIn agent, just as we created before, and then we have an Instagram agent. All of them have been created just like this. Then we create a post agent that runs things in parallel. So what it does by default is, if you look at the root agent, it essentially is a sequential agent. It first does the research, then it goes to the post agent, which runs two things in parallel. And you can watch my video later to understand it better. It first does the research, then it does things in parallel, uh, generates the LinkedIn post, generates the real script, and then finally it merges both of those messages back, and then it gives you a summary of those things. And what we just did is not using the local Google Agent Development Kit when we ran this in the new tab. It essentially went to the deployment and essentially ran that there, which is super interesting. So I can show you one more thing. I hope it works as expected. So if I go to deployment and if I try to see my files here, we do have actions, we have cleanup, we have deploy, we have run flow. What command did we run before? Was it run flow as well? No, run agent, right? So if I try to run Python 3.12 run flow, let's have a look at what this guy does. Now you see actually how we interact with the deployed agent. So here, first it's getting the list of deployments. So here you can see that I have in US Central reasoning engines, and then this is the ID that I've gotten for the agent that I've already deployed, right? Now we have a session being created. Once you create the session, it looks like this. It has an ID. It has the user ID, which I've hard coded right here, 123. It has the app name, which it is referring to the same agent app that is deployed. So it's you can say the app is the deployment. So essentially, we get the list of deployments in our flow. In this Python example that I've shown you, we create a session now. Then we also try to list the session, just to show you that you can also list all your sessions and pick one from them as well, or show in the UI, blah, blah, blah. Then you go and send a message, and then you can clean up by deleting all your sessions as well. So all of these examples are there, right? I think I'm going to leave it here because it's really, I think it's not possible to, pour all the knowledge that I have in one single session, but you can definitely watch the series, the YouTube series, which is going to have, I think, at least 7 to 8 or maybe even more videos regarding all of this. And we are going to go through the deployment process, etc., whatever. Maybe a front-end application connecting with a backend that connects to this app engine as well, or agent engine as well. But I think we can quickly take questions and then move towards wrapping it up, unless there's something else. I'm taking some questions from the chat. Tatia Zote says, my best friend, can you prepare a group Discord page for your YouTube channel? I want to join you. Okay, I'll look into that. Ibrahim says, are you using OpenAI key for it? Yes. In my environment variable, for the example where we have multiple agents, and I'm using Light LLM for this, which you can also look into the Google ADK documentation. So I'm using Light LLM for using OpenAI ChatGPT and Claude Haiku 3.5, and I'm using both the keys for this. So I'm using the keys for Anthropic, which is for Claude, and then from OpenAI as well. So I'm using three different keys: Google Gemini, OpenAI, and Claude, all of them. And I think that's the next video that's going to be published on how you can do that. All right, some questions in the team as well. Do we need to deploy it in our own cloud account or our client? That's a good question. Most likely it will be your client. If you're working as a freelancer, or if you're a software development company, you're going to deploy everything on the client. If you're working with a startup, of course, then you're not going to do it uh, on other people's account. You're going to have it hosted on your account. Ahmed Islam says, what about Anatane for building AI agent? Anatane is a different thing. Anatane generates the workflows. Similarly, how you can say it's similar to ADK in some way, and that's also amazing as well. So I'm gonna share maybe a video later. I was working on a cool flow with Anatane that essentially, I don't know if it would be possible to show. But the annotating is something that I'm currently looking into. So you can expect maybe some workflows from there. I was looking into this viral sort of pose that is a baby, a cute baby that is on a podcast, and it's talking about some really serious topic. So I have a video that's hopefully gonna come up for that, talking about my next book, inshallah. So maybe I can show you. Give me 1 second. But you probably won't be able to hear it, unfortunately. But let me still try to show you. You see this? So this is a completely AI generated um, video, and this is talking about what is new in Angular v20. You don't hear it, but you're gonna hear it soon. Um, and this was built with a whole Anitend flow. So it talks about not only what's coming in Angular 20, but also my book as well. And this is the Anitend flow that essentially generates this. But if you want to look into this, maybe when I have this created as a tutorial, something I can talk about it in detail. But essentially, once I submit my form and say, okay, this is the kind of baby that it should be Asian or Middle Eastern, what kind of hair it should have, and what is the topic of discussion. When I do that, then it essentially goes through a whole flow with different APIs. We use 11 labs for the audio generation. We then have essentially, there's also a service called Hydre to create a video. And then we're using ChatGPT or GPT-4 for creating an image. So the baby image is first created, and then the audio is created separately, and then the video is created separately. So finally, all of those things come together, and then I have at the end, towards just the end, it's deploying this to my Google Drive or pushing it to my Google Drive. This is a particular step that I haven't figured out yet for myself on, because this doesn't work for some weird reason. But essentially, at this particular point, we do have the video or the URL that I can download the video from. But I'm going to share it later on. So since someone mentioned Anitane, I just had to mention it. But it's interesting. Anitane is quite interesting as well. But I don't think this is something that would, or how it would scale when it comes to using this for your own startup or for your own project. I would probably rely on the Google Cloud platform for this, or Vertex AI for this, to be able to scale when the application grows. One question is from Malik Zishan that says, "Is Open AI Key enough to build an agent?" Yeah, if you're using Agent Development Kit and you're using Light LLM, which is a package, and you can see my next video, which is hopefully coming today or tomorrow on my YouTube. So with that, you can use just an agent. You can build just an agent with Light LLM using ChatGPT or OpenAI, and your OpenAI key is enough for that. But you need to deploy it somewhere for the users to be able to use it. So for experimenting, it's good. But if you want to really push it to the users, or to be able to access your AI agent from other places, or from your backend, from multiple backends, so to say, then you would need to deploy it somewhere. So it's enough for trying out at least. Rukhsar says, do we need to go for a few short instructions for every agent? No, in my case, I haven't used in the few short instructions at all. For example, if I go back to my code, you have seen that we are not really using few short instruction. And for those of you who don't know what that is, few short instruction means that I give a few examples of what I want to do. So in this particular case, for example, in the LinkedIn case, if I was to say you need to do this, this, and this, and then I also showed examples of how to do it. For example, this is a post, this is a post, this is a post. Then that's basically a few shorts example. So in that particular case, we would have a lot of text that we are sending to large language models, which will cost us more money, because the more text you have in the whole conversation, the more tokens it consumes, and then the more it costs, of course. What we're doing here is that something that's called more of an of prompt instruction, so to say. So we tailor the behavior of what each agent should do. So you will notice that all the agents that I've mentioned about talk about you are this, this, and this. And then I quickly go into depth on detailing what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do. There's also a good um, there's also a good book, or you can say, what do you call it, a document from Google about prompt engineering. I think I have that on my blog post. I can share it here. So this is Master the Art of Prompting, Google's new guide. So look into this. This will actually tell you like uh, what should you do when you're actually talking about your prompts. And this is a whole PDF that you can read. So ideally, you should be able to give the input or instruction on what the agent should do, how it should do it, what kind of tools it can use, and how should the output be. What should be the exact format of the output, what it should not miss, should miss, etc. One of the good examples can also be seen at this is a side of my book that I published. That was my second book. So if you go there, you can essentially ask it questions about Angular. If it finds that on my book, then it essentially responds back from the exact chapter of my book. For example, how to work with route animations in Angular. If I ask it, it will go through, because it uses rag behind the scenes, so it has the context of my book. It gives you a general example, but at the end, it will give you, for example, the demo link, which is super cool. So it directly takes you the demo. And here, this is route animations means when you switch pages, do you see animation? So you see, ooh. So you see a demo right there. And then you also see a link of the source code directly from the GitHub. So it takes you exactly for the users, because this is open source. So everyone can go here and see the source code here as well. But what happens if I try to ask it, how do potatoes grow? If I ask it, should it be responding? Maybe not, right? So here it says I can only answer questions related to Angular or the Angular Cookbook. It does something here, and I think it's trying to give a smile, because in my instructions I've explicitly mentioned that if there's something that you don't know about, just give a smile and say I can only answer questions about the Angular Cookbook. So we are not really doing few shorts prompting. We are rather doing something called instructions or prompt instructions. I'm taking one more question. So how to persist and share memory between agents using this framework? So you have to watch my video when I talk about sessions, hopefully coming soon. But in general, when you're talking about AI agents, and you can look into in memory session, session. Da, 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 da. I can share the link in the chat here. So you have the possibility of having sessions, and sessions have their state. I've not looked into any document so far that talks about sharing between different sessions. I've not looked into it, but it's possible that you get a session programmatically, get the content of that session or get the history of that session and pass it to another session as a message. That's quite possible if you want to do it, but I don't think there's a built-in way of doing this, because it's a very specific use case. Zishan Elia says, good morning, Hassan Bhai. To you too. There's also another question that is, sir, could you please give some insights on MCP server? Okay, so I'm going to be honest here. I've read about MCP servers. I have not used a single MCP server so far. I've not set it up for my VS Code or anything, so I don't have much insights about this. But what I know is when we talk about tools with agents, tools are functions that an agent can call, right? MCP is a protocol where you define exactly certain functions or certain framework on the how a particular AI agent, or let's say VS Code or anything that is using AI in general, is going to call certain endpoints to do some stuff. Okay, I just saw that our meeting ended. So, anyways, we'll see. Maybe I'll get a new link. Let's see if I can find the link. All right. By the way, one of the things to the live stream, one of the things that I was thinking was maybe to create a school community where we can share all these resources. I think it would be easier. I'm not sure if we should go with the school community or just Discord, but we do have a Discord to Thea. Not really active. I'm trying to. Okay, so I'm gonna quickly. I'm gonna share the link in the chat for this. Give me 1 second. Get shareable link. Okay, so we are going with the live stream only, not Google Meet. That's okay. Let's see. Kate Monster said Google Meet sense. Yes, I saw that. It was funny to see, say the least. I was trying to talk about something and then it just went away in oblivion. Um, but I think we can essentially end it here. There's so many things that you could do with Google ADK. I think we have barely scratched the surface. It would be interesting for me even to see once we have this the tutorial out for how you deploy the Google ADK. I want to look into how we can create a fast API so we can have programmatical access to the agent, and then also having a front end that essentially can demonstrate the whole thing, like how do you create a session, how do you talk to agent, how do you destroy session, how do you manage memory, if you wanted to share, for example, things between different sessions, how you could do that. So I think all of those things are coming in, I don't know, next few months. Right now my focus is towards my book that I'm currently working on. If you're interested in learning Angular, I would say look in that, by the way, and you should be able to see this thing. By the way, the pricing is not correct. I have not decided on the pricing, but it asked me to add something. But you can definitely look into the Angular signals if you're looking for some good Angular stuff and you're coming from YouTube, which I would assume that you would have looked into my Angular tutorials. By the way, the Angular tutorial of the crash course essentially just cross, I think maybe it's about to cross actually 300 and no 300,000 views within a few, yeah, it's like 271,000 views. And a lot of people seem to, we have more than 5.8 thousand people who endorse that the course seems to be good. So you can see at least the book that talks about what is even newer than this, because this was 7 months ago. I'm not really sure if I should create one a new crash course with the version 20. I'm not really sure. And if you're someone who is looking more into learning React, I would rather suggest you to look into this, which is the Practical React Essentials. And on Udemy, you usually have some sort of discount always, especially for new joiners. So you could also look into this. But this is not in English, by the way. So this is in Urdu. So you learn the whole ecosystem of what React is, how do you build React applications, what is state, how do you use Redux, how do you test your React applications. By the way, really important if you want to get hired in a company that works with tests. Nobody talks about tests usually. So my book, which is on Angular, is essentially talking about tests as well, and then we have this React course as well. With that said, I'm actually gonna run because I would love to have I would love to have l- sorry, my breakfast with the family. And thank you so much, Ali, for organizing this. This was really helpful, and I hope that it was helpful for you viewers as well. If you want to connect with me, I'm gonna share the link in the chat, that you can find the link, all of my links as well, and you will also see the link on the screen as well. So it's bio.link codewithahsan.dev. Oh, sorry, wrong link, not dev at the end. HTTPS. Let's first hide this. Bio.link code with Ahsan. I think that's the right one. And I'm going to quickly try that as well. Yes, you should be able to see the courses, the videos, my Angular book, my GDE profile, stream links, etc. All of that. With that said, thank you everyone for joining. Usually we stream every week, so uh, it's quite possible that we do a stream tomorrow, but in the morning a bit earlier, because I wake up quite early, like 4 or 5 a.m. usually. So, but that would be Pakistan time, 8 to 10. But maybe we'll do around 10 a.m. Pakistan time tomorrow. So join in. We'll probably do some AI stuff and have a chat, and then we'll take it from there. Thank you so much for joining, everyone, and have a great rest of your weekend. Assalamu alaikum.